Okay.
Good day, viewers. I'm Mr. Ladele, your economics teacher. This time around, I'll be teaching you demand and supply. So now, demand and supply. As an economics student, you have been making demands for goods. You have been making demands for commodities. And you as an economics student, you have been supplying as a one way or the other. But this time around, you want to know the nitty-gritty of demand and supply. Now, looking at the word demand, demand is said to be demanded when the consumer is ready and it backs it up with what? With money. That's what makes the difference between demand and wants. Demand, wants are unsatiable desires of a man. That is, you desire something, but it doesn't mean that you have what it takes to have it. Until you back it up with money, then you are making a demand. Then, when we talk about demand, we can still talk about the law of demand. And this demand boils down on the consumers, naturally, because it is the consumer that will be making demand for commodity, while the producer will be the one that will be supplying commodities. So that's why this time we are talking about demand and supply, because there's no way to talk about consumer that we will not mention the supplier, that is the producer. So at this level, we want to talk about the law of demand. It says that the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, or the lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded, certain variables, all things being equal. Now this time around, I want to talk about, we all know the factors of demand. That is, there are factors that can determine the behavior of a consumer as a rational being. Now, looking at, talking about what we demand for now. Before you can think of a price, that is, when you are being given a price as a consumer, and what determines the quantity you buy, definitely you must look at some factors. Looking at these factors, you look at the satisfaction you can derive from such commodity. That's one. But on this note, we can really talk about price as a determinant that will determine the quantity. If the price of a commodity is high, that means as a rational being, because your income has not changed, definitely you should work based on the income you have on ground. It's not in the situation whereby you go and borrow because you want to make demand. But this time you make demand based on what you have on ground. So now, we're talking about the factors. Price is one of the determinants, that is determining factor that determines what a consumer does when he's making a demand. That's one. Now, looking at this, the taste and fashion of the commodity. You know, when you derive satisfaction, utility in a commodity, definitely you'll be prompted to make more demand on it. And also season also will determine demand. Talk about season, that is maybe in a festive period, when there is Christmas outside there will be more demand for chicken. Even before that time, maybe few people have been buying it, but at this time around, more we want to consume chicken. Or talking about still on season, when we are in rainy season, people will buy more of thick clothes than light clothes. And with this, as a consumer, you cannot be buying light clothes in the rainy season when you need thick clothes. So these are these factors that you can think of. That is the major factor. We have the primary and the secondary, but the major ones that determine how you make your demand are what I've mentioned. But here now, I won't continue without talking about shifts or change in quantity demanded and shifts or change in demand. There's a difference here. Now, when we talk about shift or change in quantity demanded, this one talks about, that is, when price changes. When price changes or prices change, then we can talk about what happens to the demand. That is, the quantity demanded at that point will also change. But the prices that change, that is it increasing or is it decreasing? So when price increases, a consumer will think, okay, now price has increased. Considering the factor, the income, that has it increased? No. Then what happens? The consumer will reduce what is buying. What is buying, and at this point, we see that if the price now decreases, the consumer will want to make more of it. So at this point now, shift or change in demand, it's the curve. The curve comes from left upward, it slopes downward to the right. Look at this. Look at it. That's P1. That is, at P1, the quantity demanded is at Q2 because the price is low here. So the quantity demanded is high here. So when the price increases to P2, it reduces back. Look at the arrow here. Look at the price pointing upward. So as the price points upward, the arrow here under the quantity points backward. That is, it decreases. So that's what we talk about, the quantity demanded there. So that's demand. So if you look at the shifts in demand, at this point, the price still remains constant, but the quantity demanded or quantity changes. Now look at this now. At PO, look at this straight line. It turns to the front. Now the price here, the quantity here changes. Look at it now. Look at this one. That is Q1 to Q2. So at this point, it has two curves. That is, either it increases or decreases. This arrow shows that either it goes front or comes backward. When we're talking about shifts or change in demand, at that point, the price still remains constant. But people have changed their quantity. So look at it now. We can now see what are the things that can make a consumer, when the price of a commodity still remains constant, to either decrease in what he buys or increase what he buys. So which means satisfaction can come in. When you are not fully satisfied by the commodity you are consuming, despite the fact the price does not increase, you will still want to change your taste. So that's why when I was mentioning factors affecting demand, I made mention of taste and fashion. When it is old fashion, it's like, no, I want to go for the new fashion. Despite the fact the price has not changed from where it is, nothing has affected the price. But normally, it is when the price changes that you can now make increase or decrease in whatever you demand. But this time around, the price still remains constant. So if a producer is not advancing in what he or she is producing, it can make a consumer change what he demands for. So that's why you see at this other people call it shifts in demand or change in demand, not quantity demanded. So here we have two curves. Either it increases Q2 or it decreases from Q2 to Q1. It depends. So that's about it now.